All right, we have begun. So, whatever happened to Final Fantasy? Our latest episode of Whatever Happened to the Game. The link to this playlist is found in the description. So, we already had a MGS. MGS is in. Oh, you're answering my question. Okay. So, Final Fantasy. I'll get to you in a few minutes, Chaos, okay? Hold that question. So, whatever happened to the game? And this day we're talking about Final Fantasy. And the role-playing game and how much we enjoy it. So, to start it off, we're just going to go that you can find these games on PlayStation Network or PSN, Steam. They're also on the mobile app stores. It doesn't matter if it's iOS, Android store, Google Apps, they all have them, which is great. And they usually have the special edition, which is better, much better. So, welcome again, Albeleo, and how are you doing? What's your upcoming events that you're hosting?
Well, thank you as usual, Adrian. This is always a fun time. Tomorrow will be tomorrow's Friday. So the next video is going to be a Furiosa review, and then tomorrow I go live with Fallout 1 because that's what everyone pretty much voted for. So I'm going to start that journey.
Well, good luck. Remember, read the manual, save often, and there's no shame in dying when it comes to Fallout games.
Okay.
Especially the early ones.
Oh boy.
I mean, it's old turn-based action, so it shouldn't be too hard if you grew up with that kind of role-playing games. I'm going to be playing Lament of Innocence later today, and
sweet.
I'm going to be giving off some monster specials. So I also did my first Castlevania Facts episode in a while on my short, so that's coming. That's already there, so people can check that out. But we're going to next go into how we got introduced. So, but first, before I get to that, so Chaos, what do you mean by MGS? What were you thinking of?
He just wants us to just screw Final Fantasy.
Oh, there you are. Oh, Metal Gear Solid. Okay, I would have to learn a little bit more about that. I mostly play the first one and the first Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and 3. I haven't really done the original, although I could do it technically because I could play the collection on Steam. So I'll give it a try. Yeah, Juan, I don't quite sound that way in real life. I sound more gruff and closer to someone else, but it's cool. I use the AI voice just to make it sound like Castlevania rather than something else like Metal Gear Solid or Snake. Yeah, I don't quite sound like it in real life, but that's why I use the voice. Yeah, I did. Well, the good news is I'm off of that. Thankfully, I'm dry from smoking by a little more than a year, so it's good.
Good.
Hopefully, it's a lot of gum chewing, but that's better than inhaling smoke, I guess.
Well, that's good to hear. All right, so Final Fantasy, where did you start with this?
Okay, where did I start? I started playing, it was called Final Fantasy 3 on the SNES, but it was actually 6.
Oh, you started with the best one.
Yeah, that one. And I really realized that 2 was actually 4 originally in Japanese, and 3 was originally 6.
Yeah, I started with this one right here, actually, the good old original.
On the NES, too?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I read the article about it in Nintendo Power Magazine, but I didn't actually get around to playing it yet. I should. They've even remade it with with more modern graphics on Steam and mobile right now.
Yeah, the pixel art in I think it's the PSP one is the one that I played, that my brother had many years after we got into it, obviously, and it looks fantastic in comparison. But yeah, if you play the original, it does not hold your hand.
Well, it doesn't. That's the '80s for you.
Yeah,
you have to read the books. We didn't. You see,
Go ahead.
no, you see, back in the early days of PC games, you had to read this manual, this paper manual, and you didn't get the PDF online. Which is so be happy that you have it in today's world.
I miss the old manuals. They were so cool.
Oh, a lot of cool illustrations. I still have the manual for Warcraft 3, and I they have all this artwork in the manual, so I like checking out the illustrations they made of humans, orcs, demons, and so on.
Oh, I have the game manual and the lore books of 1, 2, and 3. They're so nice. I miss them. Actually, the other I think it was like last year here. This. Now you can't see it obviously, but what I'm holding. This is a box version of.
I mean, I could. On a future stream, I could like send it over so you could take a picture, so you could share your pictures if you wanted to. But
yeah, I've got the first Dragon Warrior in box with map and everything.
I mean, is it on the screen? I could share. I could turn the screen over to you.
I don't got a working camera.
Oh, okay. But you could put your PDFs on if I invited you to. We'll have we'll take a week off and I'll just explain how it works, just so that we can be ready for the next one. And by the way, next month we're going to be responding to a video, so it should be fun. We'll figure out if it's a recording or a live stream.
Probably live stream. That way we can include people like it's a discount EFAP.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, exactly. So we'll do live stream. I will do for all 3 Castlevania parts. I will put all 3 of them together into an episodic one.
Mm-hmm.
So it should be good for those who couldn't quite make it. So yes, that's how I started. So this is more us about our experiences, but I'm just going to give a background as I do in the other ones. So this is the role-playing game craze. Dungeons and Dragons came out in 1974, and when computer or PC gaming took off in the 80s, the hype was there enough that they wanted to say, hey, look, let's put something like Dungeons and Dragons in PC game form. So that was a huge hype in the late 80s and early 90s when it came to PC games. So what Square figured is, okay, we'll challenge the PC gaming market, because this is recovering from a video game crash of 1983 where the consoles crashed. Okay, the sales, they couldn't sustain the sales, so they dropped. And part of this was oversaturation. I mean, and we're going to talk about this more in our response to Video Game Crash the sequel, which is another person's video, is that they couldn't keep the sales up. I mean, you probably heard more of the crash.
There were companies started shuttering pretty badly during this time period, and I know a lot of people tend to attribute everything to
Oversaturation.
Well, yes and no. It's more like E.T. had a lasting impact on everything. And so everybody was concerned that the games were basically dropping to that kind of quality, and everything was shutting down, which turned out to not quite be entirely true, because it needed to come out. They needed to make more games that were basically just really, really good. And this is why Final Fantasy ultimately got its name, for anybody who doesn't know. It was literally supposed to be the final fantasy that they were going to produce at that company. and then it sold like hotcakes, and so we got one of the longest running RPG franchises in history.
Right. So yes, they were. That's right. They're thinking it's going to be the last fantasy RPG. So they labeled that, and they picked the right title for it. Yeah, and and just like the Dungeons and Dragons, it has it has the RPG dice rolling in game form, and it was a way that they got RPGs essentially onto consoles, because they had the other RPGs, but those were mainly PC, such as Wasteland, Eye of the Beholder. Some of you probably in the audience probably never heard of Eye of the Beholder or Wasteland, but those were the other RPGs from the PC side. PC gaming didn't crash as hard, but the consoles, they dropped a lot. And just remember, you always need a PC, because without PCs, you don't make the console games.
Mm-hmm. And that's not to say that Final Fantasy was like the first one to come out either. There were plenty of them that came before. You had I remember one in particular's Black Onyx, and I wanted to box. I'm pretty sure Dragon Warrior was around that same time. Oh no, never mind. Dragon Warrior was 89. Never mind.
Right, but it was still it was a massive time of hype, with the aftermath of Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes,
how popular it was. And then you also had the other dice rolling figures on the tabletop, such as Warhammer 40K, and there's others that we don't know as much about because they didn't do so well. But
sorry, there's also the Ultima series, right?
There is Ultima series, yes, through the 80s on to and beyond, and that was that's where a lot of the top down, the whole idea of you're top down looking down at the character. But it's cool looking at essentially stick people in the first one. I mean, so for those who aren't familiar, yes, there were a lot of PC games. You can find them on GOG, although Final Fantasy isn't really available on GOG.
But that Pixel Remaster is on Steam. It's all the first 6, and they look fantastic.
Oh, they do. I got the mobile version, or at least the Steam version of 8 now is just, it's no longer the kinds of graphics that it was originally on the PS1. And I mean, it's not my favorite. We're going to move into the next one because it's not exactly my favorite one is 8. It sort of draws me in because it went into the hype for trading card games that you got from Magic the Gathering. So they were smart to have that in, even if it's not my favorite game in the series. But I'm going to get on topic here. And what was your what was your favorite title in the series?
The one you started with, 6.
Okay, 6. Yes.
4 will always have a special place in my heart because Cecil and Kane and all of them are just great. But 6 is my favorite overall, and I will still contest to this day the best. 7 is a cheap knockoff.
Yeah, I mean 7 was a start for the PS1, and I feel that that's part of how it sold so well, and there's so much recognition for it.
Agreed.
My favorite one is actually 4, although it was originally sold as 2 for SNES outside of Japan. I just enjoyed all the crazy, tips you keep getting. You have to go to some people, talk to some people, find another clue, which leads to another clue, and then it just gets outlandish. So it's all these outlandish things, like you have to go up and go to the moon. You have to make your airship so it doesn't burn up from lava, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that you see in fantasy, all the way on to steampunk, is in Final Fantasy IV. So it's possibly one of the most outlandish of the early games, just on how it works as a plot.
I always thought it was really funny how you go from this fairly like medieval fantasy to. By the way, we have a giant spaceship in the shape of a whale, and we're going to the moon.
Yes,
What's up,
you're
boys?
going to the moon.
We're on the moon. Just Bahamut. Nothing big.
No. I was a little annoyed when you went into the underworld and you had to get enough money to pay the dwarves to upgrade the airship. How many times do you have to go fighting things or looking for treasure in the underworld to get the upgrade?
Mm-hmm.
How many times? And then there's Yang, who's like who's a pretty goofy character. He finally has a goofy look to him because they remade it with 3D graphics, and that's the version that you have on Steam or mobile. So yeah, there's the character of Yang, the martial arts master that I believe is Sabin in 6. But Yang just has so many little one-liners in his thing in the game. It's just like, wow, this guy's funny to have in your team, and he can fight too.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Yang is separate from Sabin. Yeah.
Yeah, no, Yang is Final Fantasy IV, but I'm just saying Sabin has a more serious tone to him. Edgar of the two twin brothers is a less serious out of the two.
Yeah, agreed. Though they are both monks.
Right.
Yeah.
But Sabin's cool because you have to actually press in a combination of keys to do his various fighting moves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, couldn't figure that one out when I first picked that one up. Can't tell you how many times I game overed on that first fight because I just kept running out of time. I'm just like, I don't know what input, like, what is an input?
Yeah, that was one of those games you have to read the manual and see, oh, you have to actually put in moves, and yeah.
Mm-hmm. So,
I want to interrupt, but I want to interrupt just celebrating the fact that I finally got Anthology collected. So, yes, this is your Final Fantasy VI, but this is the 3D version they have in the PlayStation game. So, I decided to share it with us.
There is such a this reminds me. There is an old music video from like AMV from ages ago, and it was the Offspring for Final Fantasy. Staring at the sun. That's it.
But I like this one. I like this intro because it finally has Celis. It finally has Celis singing the opera song in it.
Yeah, I remember because it's got Locke and it's got Terra walking in the Magatech armor.
Yep.
Yeah, great little scene. But they it's still not. There's actually more copies on YouTube. It's Final Fantasy Offspring staring at the sun. It's just an old tribute from before the internet became big. Somebody was just like, I'm gonna make this, and then they made it, and it's
oh my. I'll take a look at that and I'll put it in the description after this is over. Thanks, Albeleo.
www.ff8.org.
Oh, that helps. That helps.
I forgot that was the old website link that was just in the video. Yeah, all of this cracked me up.
Oh, that's 5, but that's part of Anthology too.
You know, that crystal still looks good.
It does. It really does. But it's just cool seeing how they did the new intros just for the CD version.
Mm-hmm.
So enjoy it, audience, because we're going to talk about the ones we feel are overrated and overhyped next.
7? We're getting into 7 next?
If that's the one you feel is most overrated.
Yeah. I get so frustrated with the argument. I have fun with it. Obviously, if you like 7, that's fine. Like, it's just
No,
whenever the
I-
argument of like 6 or 7 comes up, it's like 6 is obviously the superior one, and I get why people like 7 more.
I mean, I do like parts of 7. I like the fact that there's so many like mini games that like motorcycle or snowboarding, but plot-wise, not so much.
Yeah, my old roommate, he never played Final Fantasy, but he watched the Team 4-Star abridged of FF7, and so for their first season of their machinima went to them leaving Midgar, and then afterward everything, the tone completely shifts. Like the ramp up of the pacing just tanks, and then everything has to go really slowly, and they have to build up the characters again because now we get to focus on them more particularly. And even he was like, wow, this is so weirdly paced. It's like, well, yeah, seven's goofy.
It is. It is. There's our favorite clown, I think.
Kefka, great.
Yes, Kefka.
Greatest villain in all of Final Fantasy.
Everyone wants to rule the world, but Kefka just wants to play around.
Yeah, Kefka just straight up wins. Unlike Sephiroth. Oh wow, the jiggle physics on the hair were goofy.
Yeah, it did.
That little tuft of hair that Terra's bang just kind of like kept going up and down while the video, like everything else in the video, went up and down at a different pace.
Yeah.
So it, like accidentally stabilized it.
Yep.
And I never did like this the redesign of the armor. The Magatech armor looked so much better in game.
It does, especially with the Steam and the mobile versions now.
Well, I meant like the physical design, the one with the arms that actually, moves like a topless Gundam versus the Tyrannosaur without arms here.
Yeah. Yeah, it was goofy. So, overrated titles. Like, I guess I'll get around to mine, and that was the fact that it's 10. And the thing that disappointed me a lot about 10 is they broke tradition. Because originally Final Fantasy was set that every one was a self-contained one-and-done story per game. And 10 is what they started doing, or so they made a optional sequel to it.
Oh, yeah, like X2.
Right. And it just, to me, that felt like that breaking of tradition where the game they're all a bunch of standalone games, just, yeah. It felt like a breaking of it. And they did it too with Final Fantasy VII Dirge of Cerberus as an optional game as well. But it was Final Fantasy X where they did the sequels part.
Mm-hmm. I'm fine with a game having an extended story because of if they just wrote more to it, fine. Like I'm fine with that. But if I remember correctly, 10 also had a really, really poorly executed that orb system or whatever they had.
Yes, very much.
Yeah, one of my old roommates, she was playing 10, and at one point she just like got so frustrated with this orb system because she was trying to grind it out to get it all, and she hated it.
Yeah, I felt that the materia system in 7 was okay, but the orbs was a little. I felt it was a little more complex than it had to be.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the mini games are interesting, although I feel that 7 had the good point for the mini games in it. The mini games were a decent part, but I just felt the characters in 7 were overrated overall. I mean, it just felt that. I mean, obviously the main character is Cloud, and I know Locke technically isn't the main one for Final Fantasy VI, but he has somewhat of a lighthearted tone, except he doesn't like to be called a thief.
Yeah, treasure hunter is what I prefer to be called.
Yeah. So yeah, and I mean, I guess Cecil, to be honest, is a dark and gritty. But I think the craziest part of four was the fact that was that big plot twist. And I had a similar plot twist here on YouTube where I found out another YouTuber was actually my brother. So it just got funny right there. But yeah, I feel that 10 is a bit overhyped.
Gotcha. Although it's still a lot of the CG, the cutscenes still hold up pretty well.
They are pretty well done. I mean, and it was the early part of the PlayStation 2. This Final Fantasy X. Okay, let me think. Yeah, 9 was the last one on the PS1.
Yep.
And 9 was was something that went closer to the original, the first Final Fantasy, which is fine. I mean, it doesn't hurt to have something different from 7 or 8. And 8's pretty modern, but having something that goes back to the roots while being a different story with 9.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 6 was the last one that had any real medieval kind of feel to it. And then what? Well, I suppose 15 had some, but it's a long time between the two, you know.
Right, 6 and 9, 7, 8, yeah. So, yeah, it was quite a bit. But it was cool going back to the mage systems and knight systems for number 9. I mean, the knight classes, the mage, the white, red, black mage system for 9. So now we're going to go off to. All right. Any last questions from the audience? And then we can also keep rambling on about how much you like Final Fantasy as well.
Yeah. If there are no questions, where are we going next?
Wait a minute. I think Oh, wait. Let's take a look at. Let's catch up with the comments. Let's see if anyone has something for us here.
Sure.
Oh, someone asked. Okay, Kios. What is my second favorite? Do you have a second favorite one, Albeleo? You could probably go first on this one.
Second. If we're talking the mainline series, it would probably have to be 4.
Okay.
Because otherwise, I'd probably have to say, though I haven't gone nowhere near to beating this thing, it would have if we're not talking mainline, I'd have to say Final Fantasy Tactics.
Yeah, Tactics was a pretty good spin-off. I mean, mostly battle focused. I didn't do too much of it, but I went far enough to find the part where they had a cameo. They have cameos of characters such as Cloud from 7 or other ones. So for my second favorite, let me think. I do enjoy some of the Final Fantasy character moments in Kingdom Hearts, although for Final Fantasy games, it's probably 8. I mean, I'm kind of drawn into the card game and how you can get items and creature summons by beating people up playing this Magic the Gathering inspired card game within the game. Although I wish there were other mini games that previous ones had, but that's it. And not as many characters totally you can play as in 8, and a little odd with the flashbacks parts, the flashback to the past portions of the game. But the card game minigame was part of what got me kind of hooked into it when I played it. The card minigame, Triple Triad, it was called.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, anyone else? So, I'm just going to let you know. I'm going to show a few things about next week that we're going to be doing next week. So, next one, we are doing a Video Game Crash, the sequel. Next Thursday, we're going to be responding to this one. So, he's talking about how the video game market could be going into a crash. I'm going to stop myself because I could go on about this, talk too much about this one, and spoil someone he's going to talk about. But I feel that we have our disagreements and somewhat agreements with him. But the clickbait, his clickbait thumbnail got me to it. Provoked my attention, as I would like to say.
Yeah, I proposed the question as well on a short a while ago when it was discussing something about one of the games. I think it was Suicide Squad, and a few others were just bombing spectacularly, and people are like, "What's going on?"
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, so that should be next one. Otherwise, okay, Final Fantasy. Let me turn the volume down a bit. So, what was perhaps your favorite villain of the series?
Obviously, Kefka.
Yeah, I actually, going along with 4, I would say Kefka too. So I'll try to find someone else. So I did enjoy Golbez because of how he's revealed to be Cecil's brother, and just the fact that he's kind of a reflection of Cecil in ways that he contrasts with him, and that whole mirror image type villain or nemesis was the interesting part about Golbez.
The contrast between the two is really nice, especially since he's like, he is visually effectively the Dark Knight version of him, especially after he's become the Paladin.
Yes. And just, I don't know. I also, going back to why 4 was my favorite, there were just some of the weirdest jump surprises in that game. Oh, you think I was your ruler? No, I'm just one of the fiends. And I was like, what?
Oh yeah,
the king. The king.
Cagnazo.
Yes, the king has been replaced.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, he's been dead for a while. It's like, oh well. I guess the city of Baron's going to hell real quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what do you mean we have no king? What do you mean we have no guards? Also, we just have Odin trapped in the basement for some reason.
Yes.
But I hated that fight. First going in, and you're just like, oh, look, a new boss. I wonder what he'll do. And then you're all dead. You're like, well, that sucks.
That was just so funny. So, we're going to be back here next Thursday talking about Video Game Crash, the sequel, and our responses to it and its clickbait. Same time, same channel. You all have a wonderful evening. Be safe, and we're going to sign off.
All right. Have a good day, everybody.